Parents of Reddit, what is the most absurd thing you have found on your kid's social media? That my son is an urban explorer. He's 14 and I saw some video of him and his friends sneaking into an old Air Force base and climbing to the top of an air hangar. Can I do the inverse? My dad recently opened an Instagram account, and within 10 minutes of having it, managed to accidentally upload a screenshot of our Wi-Fi password to it. Like, I have no idea how he managed that. Even put a filter on it, for some reason. My younger brother thought that when you entered more searches, it would delete the ones before at some point. So I look on his iPad one day and see a search for boobs or X, one of the two. The search after that was cheese. And then cheese. And then cheese. And so on. So many cheeses. 9-year-old son's Google history. Do girls in England poo blood for a month? I have told this story before. This was before my son was on social media. He was 7 or 8, and he asked if he could have some alone time in the office. I looked at his search history. Big boobs, which turned up weird humongous photoshopped boobs, immediately followed by little boobs, and then hot grills, which turned up page after page of Weber grills. He's 18 now and has no memory of this. We got my young daughter a tablet last Christmas. A couple of days later I went to look something up, and the search bar history had one entry. Is Santa Claus real? I have a 6-year-old boy and a 5-year-old girl who are pretty obsessed with YouTube gamers. They narrate their play like they are performing for subscribers, and my son actually figured out how to post videos to YouTube. I did not find this out until they had posted a few already. They had ridiculous titles where one of them had obviously just been using the next suggested word, so it came out like, "The Ghost of the Wealthy," but if they didn't then deserve. And it would be a video of my foot while I was asleep on the couch, and you'd hear one of them say, "Foot," and then giggle madly, and then the video cuts out. I have 9 brothers. My parents never knew who to blame for questionable search history. My kids are preteen. I was on their computer one time and found a series of internet searches. Kissing, making out, condom. My kids are too young for Twitter or Snapchat, but they love to watch YouTube. I started getting notifications a few months ago from people replying to my comments on conspiracy videos. Found out my son has a curiosity about flat earthers and doomsday preppers. Not super similar but related. My mom gave me and my sister diaries when we were about 14 to 15, and I instantly knew it was a trap and they would read it, so I drew a monster truck and some stick figures doing kung fu, then left it. My sister instantly decided to write about the dude she effed under the pier and how she had been smoking every day and how much she hated my parents. I have never seen someone dig themselves a grave so deep so fast. They read them the minute we left for school in the morning. When he was 8 or 9, a Google search for Star Wars Virginias. Okay, it should be my parents telling this story, but here goes. So when I was a youngin and just exploring the internet, I would usually just go on Disney Channel to play games, but I wanted to find more sites with fun girly stuff on them. So of course I just went to girls.com. Well, that took me right to a porn site, and my little self was like whoops and closed it right away. Well, apparently my dad had been looking at the browser history and noticed. So my dad is interrogating my 2 older brothers, asking who was looking at porn, and they of course said it wasn't them. My dad was persistent with trying to get them to confess until I come down the stairs and confess that it was me. My brothers had the biggest sigh of relief. Well, I have childlike parents. Weirdest thing so far was having to sit down and have a talk with my mother about how some things on Facebook are not real. My extended family lives in Houston, and during Hurricane Harvey my mother was driving my elderly relatives to hysteria by emailing them horribly photoshopped pictures of Houston landmarks submerged under 50 feet of water, followed by "It's a biblical flood, the world is ending, the news is lying to you, you're going to die if you don't get in your car and try to drive out of town right now." I talked to my stepdad and made him give me her password so I can shut down her account during the next natural disaster. Not a parent. But when I was a kid I found an adult flash game website. I would go on it whenever I had a chance. Eventually my mom found out and she told my dad to talk to me about it. My dad and I got into the car and he started this serious talk about how the internet is a very powerful tool. I felt really guilty. Then he told me how to erase the browsing history. Aunt of Reddit. I was trying to figure out my niece's age, but it was too late to call my mom and ask. I remembered she has an Instagram account, and I thought that might help me figure out how old she is. I looked her up. She has the standard tween Insta bio about what activities she likes and a list of like 15 of her best friends forever, immediately followed by pondering, and I quote, "Mostly why do people hate me?" She's 12. She is definitely 12. Daughter was 6 at the time. She was supposed to be asleep and I go to charge up her Kindle and can't find it. Go to her room and quietly sneak in. I find her watching a video under a blanket. It's Popular Mechanics and how to build your own windmill. She had a mock model in the corner of the room she was working on. Definitely wasn't expecting that. Not social media, but once caught both of my nieces playing an animated game online where the objective was to spank a cartoon but with a paddle. Every time they'd swing the paddle at the butt, it would emit the sound of a woman moaning. They couldn't understand why the game was inappropriate and were laughing hysterically while playing. When he was little, my brother once wanted to help us find a cool new purse to order for my mom's birthday. He image searched fun bags, and my parents had to answer a lot of questions. Not a parent, but one time my mom made me really mad and my dad had to talk to me about how I googled how to kill my mom and why it's wrong to think killing someone will get me PS2 games. Kinda close. So I have a 2-year-old and a 7-year-old. They both love to watch kids YouTube. Mostly these annoying toy unwrapping videos. I don't know. Anyhow, the other day I was working on my computer and they were playing Play-Doh. My 2-year-old comes into the room and asks my wife, while I'm listening, "Mommy, I made this." My wife, "Oh. That's awesome, 2-year-old. Do you like it? Let me know in the comments." My wife and I did. Not exactly social media, plus my kids are pretty young, but we let them watch YouTube Kids and I saw them watching videos of Marvel and Disney and DC characters that would rest a family and the Spider-Man mom was pregnant. Dad here, daughter in elementary school, she's all about YouTube, assuming most kids are these days. She normally watches Minecraft or Let's Play videos. I decided to search her history out of curiosity. To my horror, she was searching guys kissing butts. Found a search for weight loss on my then 12-year-old search. Bothered the hell out of me as I've always tried to instill good body image and she is by no means overweight. She was going through the baby fat stage. Started having conversations about the importance of being healthy and exercising, but to be comfortable with the body we have. She has since stretched out, but man, I looked for signs of starving and bulimia. Her mom was a bulimic and I didn't want her to repeat that. A friend from work's son goes to a fairly strict Catholic school. One day I was walking out to my car, and she was outside yelling on the phone and generally freaking out. I waited around. She usually has a lot of funny drama going on. She hangs up the phone, looks at me and starts hyperventilating and then laughs hysterically. I was like, "Girl, what is going on?" She said her son's principal called she and her husband need to come to the school immediately, that her son will fill her in on the rest. She continues to tell me her son said he got caught looking at naked ladies on the internet, and the principal printed out his search history. He searched booby porn and lady parts during class. She was yelling at her husband on the phone, telling him about the situation, and all he had to say was, "We should have taught him how to delete the history." Had a co-worker bring in her kid during the summer so that she could run him to the local middle school for football practice when she took her break at 9. Since I was in training at the time, I was sitting with her at her desk and mine was not in use. To keep him occupied, I'd log into my computer and then she'd pull up YouTube so he could watch the Watch Me Whip song. Because apparently kids will watch that hit for hours. Well, one day she goes over to check in on him and says in a confused voice, "Who the heck is it guy?" So it turned out that it was still logged into my YouTube profile, where I had taken to watching documentaries about serial killers, and the kid had clicked on one of the recommended videos. My daughters are grown up now, but when one of them was around 14 or 15 I opened up her MySpace page. She was telling all these kids that her mother, that would be me, was a raging alcoholic. She was telling them how I was neglectful and I did tea like her. At the time I was pregnant with twins, working full time and my husband was gone with the Marines a lot. I am not a drinker at all. Obviously we had a long talk. She was feeling left out with all the excitement over the babies. Still though, it was pretty hurtful. It took me a long time to get over that. What's the craziest thing you've found on someone's search history? Leave it in the comments below.